Well, some believe the president's trip is in fact unconstitutional, like human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, who says Section 145 of the 1999 Constitution states expressly that whenever the president is traveling out of the country on vacation, he must transmit a letter to the National Assembly. Now, here's what he also said while speaking to Punch newspaper, and I quote, "No doubt, the president is entitled to embark on local and foreign trips to attend the engagement of family members and friends like other citizens. But the president is not permitted by the Constitution to abandon enormous responsibilities of his office for 10 days on account of a private visit to the United Kingdom or any other country whatsoever." Well, he wasn't the only one who spoke, though. The People's Democratic Party also condemned the trip, like you saw earlier. But let's move on to another response, which is on the other side of the divide. The Office of the Presidency has responded, saying the president can govern from anywhere in the world. Now, here's a response, and I quote, "The president can exercise authority from wherever he is, as he's currently doing. This is a relatively short absence. If you check Section 145, subsection 1 and subsections 2 of the Constitution, you will see that the law is only infringed upon when such absence extends to 21 days. The statement also said that the president does not necessarily have to inform the National Assembly of his trip. So there you have the two major views, and let's get into the issues tonight. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu, is joining us from Abuja. And here in Lagos, we have the Deputy National Chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Elder Yemi Akinwumi.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the program tonight.
Thank you.
Now, I'd like us to get into this issue. It's something that has generated a lot of controversy. But I'd like to begin with Mr. Garba Shehu. Today, Sunday, marks the 4th day that the president has been outside the country. And I want to imagine that before this trip, you must have seen a lot of these controversies coming up. You must have seen that this will generate a lot of controversy. So the question is there another way you might have gone about it, the presidency might have gone about this trip, that will not generate this much controversy?
No. In a country of 200 million people, of democracy that is thriving, that is healthy, vibrant, no, it cannot be that there will be no controversy. The president didn't make a mistake by taking off without writing a letter to the National Assembly, because it was unnecessary, as you just read from this section of the Constitution. The Constitution says 21 days is the mark-off point. That is where an infringement is caused. But as it is now, there is absolutely no constitutional or legal infraction that has happened. So the president is doing his work from wherever he is. And yes, it is right that we have said the president can operate from wherever he is, because if you are a permanent secretary in one of the ministries and the president calls you from Abidjan and says, you go and repair that road, are you going to tell him that, Mr. President, you are not in Nigeria, you're in Abidjan, you are not going to do this work? Do you think you will have your job waiting for you the next day? So these are matters of common sense. All right.
Elder Akinwumi, you've listened to the president's special assistant. Now, having heard these arguments, your party still believes it was unconstitutional. Why?
Well, let me say this. I'm not a lawyer.
All right.
But I know by the standard convention all over the world, standard practice all over the world, it is conventional that when the president is traveling out of his domain, whether privately or publicly, after, say, about 6 or 7 days, he has to have a call to the National Assembly and disclose his mission, what he's going for, and then transfer power to the vice president of the federal republic. There can never be vacuum. There can never be vacuum. These guys are talking as if Nigeria is a private enterprise. It is not. The president derives his power to govern from the masses, from the citizens. And it's responsible not to the presidency. The president is not responsible to the presidency. It's responsible to the Nigerian. The money is going to spend in the course of the journey is derived from the federation account. It's derived from the taxpayer, from you and me. It's a responsible government will explain to the people governed why it's going out and what is mission, and then a successor has to take over. There can never be vacuum. So I disagree with him completely. Of course, this is part of what people are doing, what they are doing, that we are criticizing. That you don't take Nigeria as a private business. It is a public enterprise, for all of us, which all of us have to take in it. It's not just for one person.
All right. Now, Mr. Shehu, I'd like you to briefly respond to this. You have said that the president can exercise authority from anywhere in the world. Am I right? But then there was a meeting of the Federal Executive Council just right after the president traveled, and the president was not at that meeting. So how did the president exercise authority over that meeting, even though he was not around? I mean, going by the argument you put forward.
Now, let me first of all go to the PDP for what the Deputy Secretary has just said now. I'm happy that his argument is on the basis of convention. He didn't say there's any incident, legal or constitutional, that has happened in this, which means it confirms what I said, that no law has been breached. Now, is there a section of the Constitution which says the president must preside at the Federal Executive Council and he cannot delegate? The members of the Executive Council of the Federation under our Constitution can assign all manner of responsibility as directed by the President of Nigeria. No, it has happened in this country. In fact, on Thursday last week, we were visiting Maiduguri when the Vice President was presiding at the Federal Executive Council. Did anybody say that the Constitution had been breached? So please, people should not be confused.
Now you said the president.
We stand by what we said.
Mr. Shehu, you said the president delegated. So in this case, did he delegate to the vice president, if I may? Mr. Garba Shehu, if you can hear me, you said that the president will definitely delegate. So in the case of the Federal Executive Council meeting, for example, did he delegate to the vice president?
The vice president presided over that, and this has happened many times. And so therefore, from wherever he is, he can say, well, VP, do this, do that. And it gets done.
Okay. So now another argument that the PDP and some others have put forward is the circumstances surrounding the president's visit. A private trip, is it a vacation? I mean, they're saying it's shrouded in secrecy. And as a president of the people, they're saying the people need to know what the president went to do. So how do you respond to that?
Well, let me say to you that there is absolutely no secrecy surrounding this, because in the last 3 days of the president's being in the United Kingdom, we are in touch with him. We are aware 2 days ago, he had met with the Foreign Affairs Minister, had dispatched him on engagements on the West African coast. Yesterday, he was in touch and watching over incidents happening in Gombe and other places in the country. The president is in charge, and there's absolutely nothing to say. And let me say this. I think that people are limited by their experience or exposure when they begin to argue over some of these matters. I tell you this, that in some of the leading democracies in the country, it is conventional that, in fact, a prime minister can be asked to leave public space for private time at least once in a month in some countries.
Okay.
And to make sure that perhaps the prime minister, look, the prime minister is fit and healthy and is in control of himself.
Mr. Garba Shehu, I'd like Elder Akiwumi to quickly respond to your statement. What do you make of this? He's spoken as a lawyer, and you say you're not a legal practitioner, but what are your perspectives to this?
You see, why I said I'm not a lawyer is because I cannot quote copiously from the Constitution. But we know that in any country, any sovereign entity like Nigeria, that if the president is, for any reason or the other, leaving the country, he must transmit power to the deputy, through via the National Assembly, which has not been done. Now that the question you have rightly said, is power transferred, delegated to the vice president now? If it is yes, is it done in secrecy? Or should we not know? Shouldn't we hear? Whom are we going to hold responsible now? How do we relate to the vice president? Are we relating to him today as the vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria or as the acting president of the nation?
The chairman, the national chairman of the PDP during the week, put out a statement about the president's trip and state of the nation from your party's perspective. And one of the reasons he condemned the president's trip is because of the security situation in the country at this moment. How so?
Well, Observers have described the situation in Nigeria today, they liken it to another civil war.
How do you mean?
They liken it to another civil war. Probably before you were born, between 1968 to 1970, we had a terrible 30 months war in Nigeria. But unconfirmed statistics show now today that the total number of lives lost during the 30 months war is not up to the total number of Nigerians that died between the last three
You say those
years.
are unconfirmed statistics.
Yes. Because
right.
you see, the problem
so we cannot exactly base, you say unconfirmed statistics.
Which statistics in Nigeria is confirmed? There's no statistics that can prove empirically in Nigeria. There's no one.
Well, there's the National Bureau of Statistics.
Yeah.
For one.
Is the National Bureau of Statistics in my village? Are they in my village? But they make statement about my village. So what I was saying is that, unfortunately, most of the information that get to us, to you and me, they are either from the government. There are three sources of this information: from the government, from the Nigerian army, and then from the civil populace. Of the two sources of information, only one is semi-reliable. Which is? From the one from the populace, from the local people. Because the government is set to communicate with the truth. The military is set to communicate with the truth. If you follow the narration from the sequence of the events up to today, we were told of the Boko Haram in the Northwest before this administration. A little into the administration, we were told that the Sambisa, which housed the Boko Haram, has been dismantled, that the Boko Haram has been suppressed, and the 6 local government that are under the control of the Boko Haram has been recovered. Right. But today you find that the population of the IDP is increasing on a daily basis. The population of the IDPs, we have IDPs in Abuja, we have in Maiduguri, we have in Yola and other formations. The population is increasing. If it is true that the Boko Haram have been suppressed and the Sambisa disbanded, why don't the IDPs go back to their villages? What are they still doing in the IDPs? In the IDPs?
So for your party, the security situation has not improved?
It is even worse ever. We have never had it so bad as this in Nigeria.
Okay, Mr. Garba Shehu, I can see you trying to respond to that. How do you respond?
Well, first of all, let me say that I'm sure our viewers are also interested to hear this very important revelation that the PDP is making, that the country is in a civil war. Who is prosecuting a civil war against the Nigerian state? I think that they need to inform us, and we hope that it is not coming, from them. The argument about how many are dead now and before is in bad taste, and we don't want to engage in that. It would be insensitive for anyone to begin to say, well, we have recorded less number of deaths now than there were under PDP administration, which is the truth. But it doesn't give us any comfort that even if it is just one person that has died.
So you admit there are security challenges?
Look, if the PDP is pretending that they don't understand what is going on in the country, we just came out of an incident-free Easter, as far as all of these things are concerned. Yes, there was a tragic incident in Gombe, and that is being investigated, and sadly, it should not have happened. But was it terrorism? That would need to be found out later.
There was an incident in Kaduna also, if you recall, Mr. Garba Shehu.
Incident-free Christmas, incident-free New Year, incident-free Easter? No. People should begin to tell the truth.
Now, you remember there was an incident in Kaduna and some other incidents across the country. But, he spoke about statistics earlier, and I'd like to take you up on this. Security has been something that, we've talked about over time, and, we're looking forward to having an improved security in the country. But let's talk about livelihood of people. I'm sure you heard about the MBS release that came out during the end of this past week, that during the third quarter of 2018, 20 million Nigerians were unemployed. Surely that's a big issue. Is the government concerned? What is being done?
Well, I hope that you are not saying that this is directly linked to security in the country.
No, this is away from security. This is about livelihood now.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, we are expanding agriculture. Agriculture has grown monumentally under this administration, and there is still more work to do. We are doing the first ever social investment program in the country and the biggest ever on the continent. So we are engaging, we are issuing and training young Nigerians with skills, not just to book knowledge so that they can graduate and go and earn livelihood.
Right.
It's a big problem. It has grown over so many years, but that is not to say that nothing is being done.
Right.
Now, as for the issue of security,
Mr. Garba Shehu, because of our time, just a moment, please. Because of our time, I'd like to get Elder Akiwomi's response. Now, the reason I brought livelihood is because people have linked, the standard of living to security, saying if people don't have enough, they might want to pick up, on viable means, like kidnappings and what have you, which is condemnable, definitely. But what can you say about this administration's actions, for example?
Let me tell you one thing. There's no way you can separate anti-social vices from insecurity. For example, let us see the sequence of the insecurity in Nigeria. First of all, we talk of Boko Haram. Later, the narrative changed to herdsmen. Later, the narrative changed from herdsmen to banditry. Later, the narrative changed from banditry to soldiers from Liberia. Tomorrow is going to be another narration altogether. But the common denominator to all of them is that Nigerians are dying in millions. Nigerians are dying in millions. Call it banditry, call it everything. Now that things are not bad, that the point are dying, if in an environment that is not stable, how do you expect the investors to come to work there? How would there not be unemployment? How would there not be unemployment? Okay, most Nigerians are Nigerian society. Okay, in Zamfara, for example, where people could it be possible for farmers to go and practice their farming? It's difficult. What of in Benue? The people that have direct attack in Benue, they are the local farmers. People are cultivating, tilling the land every day for farming. Will they be able to go to their farms? No, it's impossible. What is the resultant effect of that when they do not go to the farm? It is all that is like kidnapping, like raping, like stealing, like all these things. This is how it happens. This is now we have poverty and complete deprivation in Nigeria.
Right. On a final note, I know this is an ongoing conversation, but Mr. Garba Shehu, briefly, if I can get your final thoughts on this issue before we call it a show.
I think that from what the Deputy National Secretary of the PDP is saying, I think that Nigerians are absolutely right and they should be congratulated for not handing power to these people because they simply don't seem to understand what is going on regionally, all of the deterioration and degeneration of security in the Sahel and the cross-border crimes and the dumping of weapons that is happening from Libya to the Sahel country, neighboring countries that is being smuggled into our own country. And for goodness sake, fight between farmers and herders had been there. Read the books. The white people, when they are governing this country, is a problem they had managed.
Thank you, Mr. Garba Shehu.
Lasting solution to it.
Thank you very much. Let's get Elder Akiwomi's final thoughts in 30 seconds.
Thank you. You see, let me respond to Garba Shehu. People are talking of inter-border banditry.
Can we do that in 20 seconds?
Yes, I'll do it in 20 seconds. If you see the states that have share borders with either the Niger Republic or Chad, they are Sokoto, Kebbi, Kano, Katsina, and probably Borno State. Most of the major crises we have today, we have been in Zamfara and Benue and Nasarawa. In the middle belt.
Elder Akiwomi.
All these soldiers from Liberia, how did they get here?
Clearly,
why
20
are they not
seconds.
fighting in Katsina?
Clearly, 20
why
seconds.
Why are they not fighting in Kano? Why are they not fighting in Sokoto?
Clearly, 20 seconds will not be enough.
Nigeria has never had it so bad as this.
But this is an ongoing conversation, and I'd like to thank the senior special assistant.
The situation is worse. It's beyond the control of the common
Elder
man.
Akiwomi, we really have to go now.
Except people like Garba Shehu that have privilege to have more than enough to themselves.
Well, Elder Yemi Akiwomi is the Deputy National Chairman of the People's Democratic Party. We'd like to thank you so much for your time, as well as the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Garba Shehu. Thank you for joining us on the program tonight. Well, that's our show for tonight. I am Kayode Okikelu. Thank you for watching.